All right, so we're back into the review. Tim and I were just talking about the different ways to handle this calorie count method. Um, Tim, would you mind going first and just describing your point of view?
Yeah, mine is kind of like thinking just it really the main idea is like encapsulation, right? It's like, all right, this the calories are a column on the ingredients, um, the ingredients table. So in like if in following with like the principles of encapsulation, it's like, all right, if I sum calories on the ingredient class instead of the dish. So let's just bring them up. If I was doing this over here and I had this, then what this allows me to do is reuse this, right? So I can use this now having this method, I could use this on a collection of ingredients that I get from this helper, or I could go straight to it from the class here. So I could do something like this. And that's really like the main benefit, I think, is how I think of it. And so I could do this, and then I could also do this.
Mhm. And just to be clear, it's because you defined it as a class method that lets you call it on both the class and a collection of uh, instances from that class, which is
Exactly.
an active record feature.
Yep, exactly. And then like the other like scalability question or thing that I think about is like, okay, like what if there become more, classes that have many to many or one to many relationships with ingredients, then this method is available to all of them. And if I only define a calorie count over here, then that limits it to only being called from dish. And that's kind of like my take on it.
Yeah. So can you go back to that version where you had the class method in the ingredient
Yep.
class? So that version is definitely more flexible, 100%. You could call it on the dishes ingredients. You could call it on all of the, like, say we just want to know what's the sum of all of the ingredients. In the next story, or one of the stories, we're gonna tackle a chef's ingredients. So then we could call this on the chef's ingredients. So that gives us just more flexibility here. But I think the trade-off is that in this version, we get less flexibility, but we do get cleaner code. If you open up the view where we were just looking at, so if we define this as an instance method on dish in our dish show view, we just call it on our dish instance like that. If we want to use the class method, can you show what that would look like, Tim?
Yep.
There. So I would say, or you could say that now that we have this in our view, you could consider this some data logic in the view. This data logic of grab the ingredients so that we can call this calorie count method on it. So I'd say we do add a little bit more complexity to our view because of this. So I think that there are some those are some trade-offs.
Totally. Yep. And I think that's it's okay to kind of make a decision of which one you decide is best for your current use case.
Mhm. Yeah, and I don't think either one is necessarily like right or wrong. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just depends on use case. I do think that this version that you made over here, where you make the instance that calls this class method, this does allow us to call calorie count. So we could take out ingredients over here and just call it in the view. And then we kind of get the best of both worlds. We create a single method that does what we need, but then we encapsulate the operation on the data inside the class that owns the data.
Yep.
Another thing that I think makes this difficult in terms of, I hadn't thought about this in terms of encapsulation, because this data isn't really stored on the ingredient class itself. It's actually in the database. So it's kind of like just using a database in itself doesn't encapsulate data well, because all of the data is stored externally. So it makes encapsulation a little bit more challenging, or at least conceptually challenging.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so yeah, definitely different ways to do things. Let's tackle that next story. And maybe let's run our tests first, actually, just to make sure we didn't. We just did a lot of like experimenting. Let's see if we're in a passing state. Okay, cool. So we're on number 3. When I visit a chef show page, I see the name of that chef, and I see a link to view all the ingredients when I click. Okay, let's go. Let's make a folder in our features tests for chefs. So we'll make spec features chefs. And then in there, we'll make show.ht or showspec.rb. And yeah, we can open up there. Cool. Can we take up the split?
Yeah, sorry. Do you want to just have show spec up?
This is fine. This is fine. Yeah, we can leave it like this. So
I was gonna borrow a little bit of this.
Yeah. Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah, let's do that.
So we need a chef, and then I think we'll need, I want to say we need ingredients based on that story, and I'll just paste it in if I have it.
Yeah, that would be great. So let's just go ahead and set up all of our tests like we did before. So let's make an if block for it shows the name of the chef. And then let's say it links to the chef's ingredients page. It really wants you to pick up that call. It's like no typing an atom. The chef ingredients. And then what else? When I click that link, I'm taken to the chef's ingredients page, and I can see a unique list of names. Okay, so what I actually want to do, because the last part of the story is on a different page, let's make a different test file for that. So let's make because this is a chef's ingredients, let's make underneath chefs, we'll make a new folder called ingredients to indicate that we're looking at the nested chef's ingredients. And then in that folder, let's make index.html or index spec, sorry.
Yep. F2 is the shortcut there, index spec. Cool.
And then in here, we can just borrow that same structure that we did before. So we want this to, so we're tackling those last 2 lines. So we should just say it shows a unique list of the chef's ingredients. Cool. So that'll be kind of like a note for ourselves to come back to. Let's first work on the other part of the story for now. So the other show spec. Okay, so it shows the chef's name. Let's fill out that test now. So let's give that a do end because we already have our chef. And so let's say visit chef path, and we'll pass it our @chef that we're visiting. And then we should expect this page to have content of @chef.name. And I think we can go ahead and fill out that second test as well. So let's copy our visit chef path. I do see some people sometimes if you're doing the like same visit to put that inside the before each, which will work. My personal preference is to avoid that just because of the way I structure my test, that I want the before each to truly just be a setup. I want to avoid I want to leave all the execution to the actual test. That's just the way I look at it. So let's expect, actually, rather than expect the page to have something, let's just click link. And we can, let's call this, yeah, let's say like view this chef's ingredients or something. So this is going to be the name of our link. Chef's ingredients, perfect. And then we should expect the current path to equal. And so this is going to be, so we're on a page for this chef's ingredient. So this is going to be a nested route. I'm kind of thinking ahead of what my routes look like. And just because I have experience with building them, I kind of know what the path helper is going to look like. So this should be equal to chef ingredients path. And then we should pass it our at chef, because it's going to need to know what chef we're looking at. Cool. Let's run our tests. Yeah, let's run our tests. Chef show. Okay, undefined method chef path. So let's go to our routes file. So in order to use these path helpers, we need to have the route. So in here, if we make resources chefs only show, let's run it again. So that resources syntax should give us access to the path helper. Yeah, so now we're into uninitialized constant chefs controller. Let's touch app controllers chefs controller. And let's run it again and move on to our next error, which is our auto load error. So now let's go open up that file that we just made. And let's make our class for chefs controller, which inherits from application controller. And then in here, yeah, let's run it. It should tell us that we need a show action. Yeah, so let's do def show in here. And run that again. And then this should lead us to our no view error. Yep. So let's make a directory for, or you can touch with -p. Was that what you're gonna do?
I was gonna do that, but I need to follow my navigator's exact instructions.
Let's do touch -p, and then app views chefs show.html.erb. So this should take care of creating the chefs folder and that show file. The -p, let's hit enter and confirm that that works. Do you know what I did wrong?
What?
No, I'm asking you because I don't use this very option.
Oh, I don't know. I haven't done this before with the -p.
Dang. I thought I was going to get fancy with that. Yeah, that's not going to work. Okay, let's do mkdir for make directory for app views chefs. This is the way that I know how to do it. And then we'll touch, yeah, and we don't need the -p. I think actually the -p is for make directory. If you're trying to make like a big, like several directories, you can make several directories at once, but whatever. Let's run that test again. I think through our command line magic, hopefully we made the right file. There we go, okay. So we're gonna just work on these both at the same time because they're pretty straightforward. So in our controller, let's set up our chef. So let's say at chef equals chef.find params ID. And then in our new view, I said we're going to work on both at the same time. That's really not a good idea. Let's give this a header. And here, let's use our ERB, visible ERB tags to interpolate at chef.name. And let's see if that passes our first test. Cool, unable to find link. So let's make a, we don't need a tag here. We can just make, we can use our ERB, visible ERB tags to use our link to view helper. And we'll name this, let's just copy this string that we made in the test, yeah. And throw that in there, comma, and then we'll give it our path. And this is going to be our chef ingredients path. And let's pass it at chef. Okay, let's run that. So I'm expecting it to not like, just like it didn't like our chef path, it didn't like our chef's path. It probably won't like this one either. Modify method chef ingredients path. So now in our routes, we can make this. And so after our resources only show, let's make a do end. So we can nest underneath of our chefs, resources, ingredients. Only, and that's going to be index. Cool. So let's run a Rails. Let's run a Rails routes, so we can view how our routes look. Yeah, we're gonna have to make it wider for sure. Yeah. So nesting those two resources syntax together, yeah, gave us that route, and we can see there that the first part of the route is identifying a chef and specifically passing this chef ID. And then it's also giving us this prefix that we can use to create our chef ingredients path. And we need to pass the chef so that it can get that chef ID. So yeah, let's run our tests and see where we're at. I'm expecting it to be passing. No, not quite. Oh, okay. So we have to actually build out the whole view pages for this. Okay, that makes sense. So let's touch app controller's ingredients controller. .rb and run that. And that should lead us to an auto load error. There we go. So let's open up that new file. And in here, let's make class ingredients controller that inherits from application controller. Let's run it again. Probably see no index. So let's add it, def index inside our controller. Run it again. So now I'm expecting no view. Cool. So now let's do make directory from the command line. We'll make app views ingredients. And then in there, we'll touch app views ingredients index.html.erb. And make sure you change it to touch. And let's run our tests again. And there we go. Can you run a RSpec and just run all the tests? And hopefully we're at that one skip. Yeah. Cool. Okay, let's go implement the ingredients index page. Okay, so for this one, yeah, let's give this a do end. And let's say visit chef ingredients path and pass it our at chef object. And then, okay. So what we want to check for is that all of the ingredients show up on this page. but I'm also imagining so this is to get like these associated ingredients and making sure that they're unique. That is very much data logic. And so I don't wanna, we could go build out this feature, but I feel like, yeah, I wanna build out the model method first. So let's go to a chef spec. And just like with the dish calorie count, because the chef is a specific object, a specific instance that we have on this page, the chef is kind of like the starting context for all of the other data. So I think it's going to be best to make a chef instance method. So we'll describe instance method here, instance methods. And then let's just say it, and let's do ingredient list. We'll call this ingredient list. And let's throw a pound sign, yeah, in front. Perfect. And then let's copy our setup from our feature test. And throw that in there. Okay, so there's definitely a couple cases we're going to want to check for in here. So we want a unique list of a unique list of ingredients for in all of the dishes. So we want to make at least one more dish. So let's make what do you want to make, Tim?
Let's make a tikka masala.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I don't know. This is bad. I don't know. Maybe.
No, we could definitely we could do this.
No, I mean like the spelling. I have no idea.
Oh,
close.
I think you're on it. I think
All
that's
right.
it. I don't know if it's 1K or 2Ks, but that will be good enough for our purposes.
Okay, cool.
So let's change that to let's change the name to tikka masala. And how would you describe tikka masala?
Oh man, probably like classic Indian.
Perfect. Okay, and then for tikka masala, we'll do we'll say at what do we, okay, so chicken, we'll put well, I guess it doesn't have to be chicken, right? We didn't say chicken tikka masala. So let's do what's in tikka masala? I know there's cream in it, so let's make, how about cream? That'd be good. I know. I always tell students, like, it doesn't matter the data that you make, but I do, like, there's part of me that just wants this to be accurate.
Yep. Same.
And then let's make another ingredient here. So let's add in masala. So tikka masala's got to have masala. Be our spicy Indian curry type mixture. Now I'm getting hungry for Indian food. All right. Okay. So the other thing that we definitely want to do here is we want to make at least one more dish that this chef does not make. So let's copy that line 13. And let's make this, let's change the name to, I like to name it something very clear of what it's doing. So I'll name it like not this chef. And then the variable name, we can change it to like different chef, maybe. Perfect. And then let's give them a dish. Add diff dish. That would be fine. Yeah, and just name it like different dish. And then let's give that an ingredient. So yeah, at diff dish dot ingredients dot create. Perfect. And then we don't need to save this to a variable. Yeah, we can, but we don't need to. We just need to make our expectation will fail if we include that ingredient. So it's fine to leave it like that for now. The other edge case, so I think that's good. We shouldn't see sugar appear on anything because it's for the different chef. The other thing that we want to do is the part where it says unique list of ingredients. So what I want to do is I want to what do I want to do here? I want at least, so this is not going to make sense, and that's okay. Rather than doing, let's actually do on the last line of this test, let's say at mac.ingredients. And let's shovel in cream, at cream. So now cream is part of 2 of the chef's dishes. So we want to make sure that we only see cream 1 time because this should be a unique list. Okay, so now I think we're ready to write our expectation. Let's say expect at chef dot ingredients list dot to equal, and let's make this an array of, yeah, that's a good idea. So this should be at sugar, sorry, not sugar, cream, masala, pasta, and cheese. Perfect. And then we can throw that into our expectation. So something else to note here is that we don't really care about the order of these ingredients. We just care that we see the ingredients. If it said like all the ingredients are listed by calories or alphabetical or whatever. When I don't care about the order, I don't want to see this fail because it's out of order. So let's throw a dot sort onto both the ingredients list method call and the expected value.
Oh, my bad.
Yeah. There we go. So that should take out order being affecting the outcome. So let's run this model test. Undefined method ingredients list for a chef. So let's make that method in our chef class. And it's got to be an instance method. And let's just pry in there. And run it again. Okay. So the first thing that, the easy thing to do here will be to call dishes. We're definitely going to need to call dishes because we need to scope it to just this chef's dishes. And then we want to get the ingredients for those dishes. So then we should be able to chain on a dot joins to ingredients. Okay, so can you open up the dish, the dish model? So just to be clear, the thing that I'm joining to is the dish ingredients right here. That's what I'm joining on to. I'm not joining on anything inside the chef class. Okay, so I think that should get us all of the associated ingredients. So then let's call, dot distinct on it because we want to make sure we get distinct records. Can we copy and paste what we have so far into our method?
Certainly.
I think that this is a good start. Yeah, so let's run the test. Let's see what it says. Yeah, so we see in our diff output here that it's expecting ingredients, but it got dish objects because we're starting this query with our dishes association. So there's a couple ways we could go about this. I kind of want to do a quick Google because I've never done this before. I think this might be good to do live. Can we Google like active record model or like use different model in query? Like some way to tell it to returning another model's results in active. Yeah, let's see what that says.
I don't think this is going to get it to us, but
No, I don't think so either.
one thing that comes to mind for me is I usually will want to start on the class that I want to end with, like whatever I'm trying to do, some active record query.
That I agree. I'm just curious if like there is another thing that we could learn here that we've never done before. Can you click on, if you go back to that, well, see where it says retrieving multiple objects in batches? Is there anything relevant in here? Well, if I need to iterate over a large set. And a little more. Find each. Yeah, I don't think. Can you go up to the top of this? And let's look at the table of contents. And retrieving conditions, ordering, selecting specific fields, limit and offset grouping, having overriding conditions, joining tables. Yeah. I don't really see anything that's going to help us in here. Find or build a new object. Have you seen anything promising so far?
Not yet.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a couple things we could do here. Let's go with the easiest first, and let's go back to our code. Because we really just care about the list of ingredients, we don't need the ingredient objects. So we could jump into our test. Yeah, our chef spec. And we could just call a dot name on each of these, because that's really what we care about, right?
Yep.
Oh, nice. Nice. I wasn't sure if that was going to work.
I hate doing things more than once.
Okay, so let's run that. And we should get some similar output before where it didn't find, or the diff was off. Yeah, so now it's just expecting array of strings. So now we can chain on to our dot distinct dot pluck name from those ingredients. And let's see if that works. Oh, it's plucking the dish name. So it says got mac and cheese tikka masala. Okay, so what we need to do, so because both dish and ingredient have a name column, we need to specifically say, look at the ingredient name. And there's a couple ways we could do that. We could do a string of ingredients.name. So let's do that first. This is the one that I know will work. So let's run that. Or, well, I'm 90% sure it'll work. I'm never 100% sure of anything.
No, same. That's a good place to be.
Okay, so that will work. I think we could also do keyword argument syntax. I just want to try this. So do ingredients colon and then the symbol name.
So is it a string still, or is
No
it two
string.
arguments? Okay.
No string.
And then so this will be a comma, I would assume, right?
Not quite. So it's going to be a keyword argument where the ingredients is the keyword. So you put a colon on the ingredients, and then space in between that, and then a colon name.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't done it this way.
And then make name a symbol. So if we don't have that, it's going to treat it as a local variable or method. So we'll get, oh.
Well, I screwed this up. I ran the test before I had the symbol.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we might get that same error though.
Okay.
Yeah. So that actually doesn't work. This syntax, I think, works when you're joining to things. Yeah, let's just go back to the old version with the string.
Can I try one more thing?
Sure. Yeah, it says unsupported argument type hash, so I'm guessing it's just going to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there might be some alternate syntax there, but there's nothing wrong with doing the string and saying ingredients.name. So specifically grab the ingredient name. That looks good. So let's now do the, I think rather than going forward with the feature, I kind of just want to show a couple different ways you could go about this model. Are you good with that?
I love it.
So let's go back to the old version. Yeah, let's do that first to make it pretty. That looks better. Okay, so in our tests, let's take out all those dot names and say we did want to return the objects, how we could go about that. Yeah, that looks good. Let's run that. Let's run it again and make sure we're back in that same. We're back in that same issue.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So let's take out the dot pluck from our query because we can no longer use that. And I'm curious if we try to, let's do a dot select here. And let's pass it a string of ingredients dot star. Yeah. So let's run that. I don't think this will work, but I'm just curious. So if we tell it to select the ingredient data, is it going to see that as ingredient objects? No. So I think what's going on is that the data is stored on those objects, but because they are technically not ingredient objects, because they're technically dish objects, it's not gonna give us that win there. So let's do what you said earlier, Tim, and let's start with the ingredient model here. Let's say ingredient, capital I ingredient, dot joins. So our ingredient model, we want to joins to dishes now. And then we're going to have to throw in a dot where to scope these to the specific chef's ingredients. So let's say a dot where. And then here we can say, so now we can use this hash syntax. So we can say dish colon. And actually, let's take out the hash for now. Or let's move the left hash bracket over to the other side. So what we're going to pass this keyword argument is a hash, and then we'll say ID in here, colon, and then self.id. So because we're inside a chef instance method, self refers to the chef that we called this method on. So we should be able to pull out the ID from it and say only get dishes where that ID matches. And actually it wouldn't be ID, it would be chef ID. Yeah, it's the foreign key. Perfect. Oh, and it's going to be the name of the table. So missing from clause entry for table dish because the table is called dishes. So on line 7, change that to dishes. Yay, and I think you can take out the dot select as well. So when you're starting with the ingredient class, it should just default to select all the ingredient data. or all the ingredient columns. Yeah. Okay. So that is, I would say, like better, maybe. I don't even know if it's better. It's just like an alternate of what we did before. But what I think would be the best way to do this is let's add in another relationship test in here. So let's add in an it should have many ingredients and then through dishes.
I don't know if this is gonna work.
I think that might work, but we'll find out.
Yeah.
And let's change. Go for it.
I was just gonna say, I don't know if I have. Yeah, I just didn't do this correctly. You have to do the.
Yeah, I think there is a version where you can use keyword arguments, but I have never used it.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
And let's change it to ingredients.
Yep.
There we go.
Good idea.
Okay, so up to this point in class, we've just talked about the many-to-manys and chaining through a join table, but we can chain as many through associations as we want. So let's open up our dish model on the left there. I want to see the chef and the dish side by side. So essentially what we're saying here is because dish has many ingredients, we can, because dish has many ingredients and because chef has many dishes, we can essentially link those two together to go from chef to dishes. So inside of our chef class, let's add in has many ingredients through dishes. And let's run that. And what's our test output say?
Right now we're all passing again, but we didn't really. We just need to change this around now.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at the wrong thing. Okay, so now that we have a relationship to our ingredients, look at. Whoops, I'm still on the arrow. I'm sorry. Standby. All of this complicated mess of like join to the dishes and find the dish where the foreign key matches this, we can replace all of that with just ingredients now. And the only part we have to keep from before was the dot distinct. And now let's run our test.
Wow, look at that.
So I would say this is the cleanest way to do it. I mean, look at our class now. It's super, super sleek.
Yeah, and so this is our expectation that still works because, yeah, we get this list here now. And it might even be helpful for you to just see it in Pry. Sometimes we instructors do things and we're like, look at that, it works. And you're like, what? But if we run this, here's our, array of objects that belong to or are associated with the dishes that are associated with this chef instance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so a big takeaway here is if you find yourself doing things like doing a dot where the foreign key matches this ID, essentially what you're doing is you're creating the query to find associated records, and that's exactly what your associations do for you. So always try to fully leverage the power of your associations. If you find that you're writing code that does what an association does, it's probably likely that you could just make an association, and that's exactly what we did here.
Cool.
All right. Well, I think, is there anything else you want to talk about?
I think we need to probably run just our test suite and see. I think we're in like some show page that we haven't done this yet.
Oh yeah, we haven't actually shown it. Yeah, that's right.
Interesting.
There's no way that's right.
Yeah, show dot. Oh, you know what it is? We just haven't written the test for
Oh,
it.
wait a minute, that's okay.
I'm pretty sure what it is. Let's get rid of this stuff.
Okay, so then what we can do in here to be, oh, this is the one, this is the chef show page. So let's go to the chef ingredients index. That's where that skip test was.
That's right. Well, I don't think so because I ran all the tests. I don't think we have it written. Like I don't think we have a. We just visited it, so it's not quite skipped yet, but we didn't finish it.
Gotcha. Okay. So now in here, what we can do, I mean, we could be fancy in here and we could say at chef.ingredients list. So now that we have that method, we can reuse it in here. Dot each do. So this will give us, and then let's give it a block variable for each ingredient.
We are late into the day. I'm doing the things.
All right, and now let's do expect page to have content ingredient.name. So this will dynamically make an expectation for each one of those ingredients in that list. Yeah, let's run that. All right, we're failing now. Let's open up our index file, ingredients index. And in here, let's say, oh, let's open up our controller because we need to make sure we have the variable that we're going to call this method on. Ingredients index. Let's pry in here. So this is not obvious, but
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yeah. Yeah. So we nested this under the chef. So if we look at our params, we should see that chef ID in there. And doing the pattern of like at chef equals chef.find params ID. A lot of times that is accurate, but a lot of times your ID is not always called ID. In this case, it's called chef ID. So it's good for us to pry and check what it's called. So in our index action, we can say at chef equals chef.find params chef ID. There we go. And then in our view, let's do some invisible Erb tags. And we'll do at chef.ingredients.each do. And I messed that up a little bit because I didn't call on ingredients list, but let's roll with it. Let's roll with it. Let's say we made this mistake, okay. And let's make a paragraph tag inside here.
No.
And we'll make our Erb text. That's surprising that's not working.
I like don't even remember how to write HTMLs. All right.
And now we should be able to say ingredient.name.
Not running the specific test. Features.
Chef ingredients index. Yeah, it's a long one. Yeah, so I identified that there's a bug in our code. We did not reuse our method. We instead just used our association. And so when I run into this scenario of my tests are passing, but I see right there's a bug in this code, what that tells me is that my tests are not good enough. So I think students, a lot of times their first instinct is like, oh, a bug, I need to go fix it. No. First thing you need to do is write a test that catches your bug so that if the bug appears again, you have a test to test for it. So what we can do in here is in our have content, let's throw in at the end, and just to name it, what we're not seeing is we're not seeing the unique ingredients here. So we're probably seeing some duplicates. So let's add in a, let's make this test data a little beefier first. That's probably the first thing. Let's just copy it over from our model test. Yeah, that whole big block. And I think that, let's run that and see if that works. We still called the variable at chef, so I think it should be fine. Yeah, okay, so our data is a little bit more rigorous, but we're still not failing. So in our expect page to have content, can we throw in a keyword argument, second argument, which is gonna be keyword argument of count, and we'll give it a value of 1. Yeah.
Something like that. I mean, this
I
is bad. This is old Ruby syntax. I should
Yeah.
do this.
And I think that should work.
I think so too.
There we go. Okay. So now that my test is this test is essentially saying now you have permission to go fix this. So back in our view, we'll change it from ingredients to ingredients list.
Yeah.
And let's run the whole test suite. My suspicion is that our work is done. It is.
Cool.
Nice.